Hello everyone, the previews are back, well for now at least, and today we're going to be previewing CF4 Stakes Day. The preview's a little bit different to what it was last year, but I'm sure you'll get used to it. Let's get on with some announcements. First up, remember that my final tips are out on Twitter and the YouTube community tab on Saturday mornings. That will keep on going. Last week was a terrible week. We only got one winner with Glory Days and we didn't even put anything on that. So 90 on, 580 back, not great. Overall, not terrible, but not great either. 338 on and 266 back. And Crimson Light's most likely going to run it Wednesday at Sandown in a benchmark 64 over 1800, and if she does well in that, she could probably go towards a Grand Handicap Classic at Flemington on Australian Cup Day, so very excited about that. But let's get on with what you've all been waiting for and the preview of CF4 Day. Race number 1 is a benchmark 78 over the 2400 metres, and I'm with So Unusual in the first. Pretty confident. It's putting together a nice picket fence of wins now. Last start, beat Wahine Tower at Sandown. Was able to settle closer from the gate on that occasion. From gate 8, should be getting to around midfield or so, which I don't see to be any disadvantage. We'll be able to get going when it wants to, and it's a long straight, so to be able to be within striking distance and pick them up, hopefully. For second, Princeton Award from gate 2, I think can settle much closer, and with the weight swing, I think can topple over Wahine Tower. The Ruffies Tycoon back from gate 1 could potentially lob on a slow speed and, well, not be hard to run down, but a place chance. And for the $10 strategy, with going with So Unusual, pretty confident on it. I think it can win the first, and let's hope it does, and let's get something. Race 2 is the Group 2 Autumn Stakes for the 3-year-olds over the 1400 metres, and I'm keen on Calico Jack here, the fit horse facing the horses that are first up. And ever since they've ridden this horse up the front, it's done very well, I think winning all 3 starts. Although they've basically all been at Cranbourne and they're all leader biased tracks, still did it with authority, and from gate 3 on the weekend will be on speed and hard to run down again for Ethan Brown. Fortune Teller in for second. I think out of the first up horses, it's probably the best chance. Gate 2 will be on speed for Johnny Allen, who knows the horse well, coming off a Caulfield Guineas campaign. The roughie, I think, is Glenna Silver. One the market's missed, I think. Coming down from Sydney is also fit and can run well for Blake Shin. And we're going to have 10 the win on Calico Jack as the $10 strategy. In regards to the other first up horses, I think Amenable will probably need to be at its best to run down the horses up the front, and Pericles might be better suited over further. But I'm with Calico Jack in race 2, the Autumn Stakes. Race 3 is the Blue Diamond Colts and Geldings Prelude over the 1100 metres. And it was hard for me to pick one on top, but I went with Barber in the end. Just like Godolphin when it comes to these type of races, and you can always trust them. Was very good in the Global Gift. Coming down from Sydney, J Car on, gate 7 midfield. I think everything sets up for it to be at its best and should be running very well. Brave Halo in for second, coming over from WA. Don't know much about it. I don't know if many of us do, but it seems to be very exciting. D. Oliver, and we'll see what it can do on Saturday. Tarabo is the roughie. I kind of like this horse. Gay Waterhouse, Adrian Bott, not bringing it down for nothing. Geordie Child's a brilliant front-running rider. It should be up the front and prove hard to run down at 41. I think it's over the odds. Having 10 the win on Barber, just think it's probably the classiest horse that we've seen to date in this field and can go on with it on Saturday. Hopefully he can get the right run for J Car and be very hard to beat. Race 4 is the Group 2 Blue Diamond Fillies Prelude over the 1100 metres. 2 horses I really struggled to split were Cigar Flick and Charmstone. Ended up going with Cigar Flick. I just think it represents more value. D Lane On is a pretty good booking. Comes through the Winning Stakes, which is a very strong form reference for a race like this. Revolutionary Miss did well on the win last year, came down and won the Fillies Prelude. Gate 15 is the only query, but they only have to run around one turn, so I don't see it as much of a query. Should be around midfield or so, and hopefully running a good race. No knock whatsoever on Charmstone. Mick Price is talking it up like it's the next Winx, so have to keep it safe. 230 I think is about its right price. A tad short maybe. First up will be firing home late, that's for sure. The roughie is Sensical. Thought it was a good run on debut in the Blue Diamond Fillies preview. So it can run well again, and 10 the win on Cigar Flick for the $10 strategy. Just think it represents value at the $7.50 mark. Race 5 is the Group 3 Kevin Hayes Stakes for the 3-year-old fillies over the 1100 metres, and I'm very keen on She Dances. A tad wide gate, but as I said, one bend doesn't really matter. J. CARLYON will be on speed in front of most of her key rivals, and I think it's got the race fitness on its side and should be running very well. Juice in for second. Gate 2 probably draws the wrong side of the track with the rail out 10, but if it's able to be in the lead, it can definitely give a sight. Cythera, again, I think is over the odds, coming off a 2-year-old campaign, did pretty well. Zara on Peter and Paul Snowden, that gives me confidence. And Gennadi's, I think is another one over the odds, but the roughie at 70 to 1 is Wave Rider Boy. Chris Waller, John McNeil, 70 to 1. I think that's way over the odds. Its form is not too bad. 10 the win on She Dances for the $10 strategy. I just think it's just the one to beat. On speed, you know what you're going to get. It's a very consistent horse and should be running well. Race 6 is the Group 2 RUBITON Stakes over the 1100 metres, and we see the return of a very exciting horse, or horses, that are the selections. I'm with Uncommon James, lightly raced horse, has to carry a bit of weight compared to a horse like Lofty Strike, but D-Lane on Gate 6, if it reproduces what it did in the Regal Roller, it's definitely going to be winning this race, and I think it's worth something in the $10 strategy. Lofty Strike's the other one, ran really well in the Coolmore when it probably wasn't ready, then went to the VRC Classic, ran an exceptional race. Craig knew it. Gate 5 will probably be next to or alongside Uncommon James in the run and be running very well. Argentia is the roughie, just a query on how far back it gets, but first up should be charging home late. 7 the win on Uncommon James, 3 the win on Lofty Strike in the $10 strategy. I think both of those horses are the two that came out clearly on top for me, and they both should be running very good races first up, setting up their autumn campaigns for the near future. Race 7 is the feature, the Group 1 CF4 over the 1400 metres, and I'm heavily in the corner of Jacquinot. The win was much better than it looked in the Manfred first up, had to pick himself up off a slow speed, carrying a big weight, and was able to get the win, and I think drops heavily in weight. Although up in class, D-Lane should have it on speed, and it should be very hard to beat from that position. I got Tuvalu in for second, just think it'll be on speed, and is pretty good first up for Jay Fry, so can figure. The roughie I've got as Churath. I'm not just putting it in there because it's a big price. I think it's got a sneaky chance. It'll be on speed for D. Oliver at Gate 2. Not the worst. And I've got 10 the win on Jacquinot for the $10 strategy. I think it's very hard to beat. I'm Thunderstruck. Probably has a chance with the big Sandown straight. Might be able to pick them all up. And Gentleman Roy is another one that's had the run under the belt and can run well again on speed. But I think Jacquinot's the one to beat in the CF4 stakes on Saturday. Race 8 is the Group 3 CARLYON Cup over the 1600 metres, and I'm with Sunshine Rising. Don't know much about it. All I know that's come from Hong Kong. It beat Beauty Generation one race when Beauty Generation was at its top, and it's come to Sydney, and it ran very well in the Ingham behind Kerwin's Lane. Now comes down, Blake Shin on Gate 4 should be, hopefully if it jumps away cleanly, somewhere to midfield or so on the outside of horses, and I think can run very well. Might need the run, but I'm happy to have it. Corner Pocket in for second. Gets a big weight swing on Pounding, which is in its favour, and will be on speed from the gate. And we know what Corner Pocket does. Will be very hard to beat. The Roughies Explosive Jack. First up needed that run, so second up will be fitter. Probably needs one more, but I think it's over the odds at 31. We're having 6 the win on Sunshine Rising and 4 the win on Corner Pocket for the $10 strategy. Those two horses are the clear two to beat. I had Pounding in for third, and I think Corner Pocket should beat Pounding comfortably. So that's what I'm going with in the CARLYON Cup. The last of the day is race 9, a benchmark 84 over 1400 metres, and I like Munamek and Here to Shock, leaning slightly towards Munamek. I just think from Gate 3 can be a little bit closer for Benny Mellum and will be close enough to figure in the finish when the race goes on. Here to Shock needs to do everything right, gets the earmuffs on, which I think helps it, but has a tendency to race keenly in the run, but D. Oliver's on, so he should know what to do. He's a very good jockey, but I just think Munamek represents more value. 5 the win on both it and Here to Shock. The roughie I think is Netanyahu. Just don't like the gate, but I like its form, and I think it's up to a race of this class based off its current form. But hopefully Hutchie's horse Munamek can finally get over the line after, it's been about 6 months since it's last saluted, so hopefully Munamek from the gate can settle closer and be winning. But that's going to do it for this week. I'll see you next week for another preview, hopefully.